We'll now call the Tuesday, March 12th, 2019 regular meeting of council to order. Adoption of the agenda. That the agenda be for the March 12, 2019 regular meeting of council be adopted as amended to include one late item, please, under 13.1, new business for the BC Mayor's Caucus participation. Motion, please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson. Any new? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. Now I'd like to have a motion, please, to recess the open meeting with a specified time to be the conclusion of the public hearing. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? Carried. We are now in recess. I will now call the public hearing to order, and I shall read a statement. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to the terms of the Local Government Act prior to the consideration of Village of Valemount Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 794, 2019. At a public hearing, any person present who believes that his or her interest in any property may be affected by a matter being considered shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matter contained in the proposal. However, it is important that all who speak at this meeting restrict their remarks to matters contained in the proposal, and that it is my responsibility as chairperson of this meeting to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. Those of you who wish to speak concerning the proposal should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to the council and meeting by clearly stating your name. Then you may give us the benefit of your views regarding the proposal. Members of council may, if they so wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at a public hearing to debate the merits of a proposal. Everyone who deems his or her interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views known. At the conclusion of a public hearing, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representation made at the hearing. During the course of a public hearing, people sometimes tend to become enthusiastic or emotional, regardless of whether you favor or oppose any particular application or argument. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their right to express their views, and enables all views expressed to be heard as impartial a forum as possible. We now have a presentation from administration. Ms. Vincente, planner, will make a presentation with respect to the proposed zoning amendment. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, the public hearing this evening is in regards to a zoning amendment application for 1080 Main Street, legally described as Lot 1, District Lot 9778, Caribou District Plan 10662, PID 01040303019. 1080 Main Street is currently zoned P3 for institutional and cultural facilities. The property was formerly operated as and zoned for a church. The current owners are not using the subject property as a church, but as a single detached dwelling with a secondary suite. They have applied to amend the zoning to residential R1 in order for the existing residential uses to become compliant with our zoning bylaw. The zoning amendment would permit residential as the principal use and a secondary suite as an accessory use. If approved, all regulations for residential R1 properties would apply. This property falls within the official community plan designation called the Main Street Special Planning Area and is therefore compliant with the official community plan. Referrals were sent out internally and externally, and no concerns or comments have been submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council to the planner? Thank you very much. If the proponent is present, do they wish to make a presentation? Thank you. Well, I'm very sorry. Are there any written submissions? Thank you. Are there any questions to the proponent by council? Now we have the public submissions and presentations to form part of the minutes. Are there any comments by the public for this public hearing? Hearing none. Call for a second time. And a third. Let it be known that there were no comments made at this public hearing. And I now close the public hearing, 1907. Motion please to reconvene the open meeting. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? The open meeting has been reconvened. Public comment, item 4.1. Comments and questions will only be regarding an item on the current agenda. Comments and questions put forth must be on topics that are not normally dealt with by staff as a matter of routine. Comments and questions shall be addressed through the chair and answers given likewise. Debates with or by individual members of council or staff are not allowed during the public comment period. No commitment shall be made by council in replying to a question. Matters which may require action of council shall be tabled to a future meeting of this council. Bylaws and temporary use permits that have been considered at a public hearing, as we just heard, but have not yet received final approval shall not be raised during this time. Individuals must state their name and area of residence for identification purposes. Comments and questions will be limited to 2 minutes, notified by my handy dandy timer beginning after welcome. Are there any public comments this evening? Yes.
So my name is Rashmi Narayan and I live in Valemount.
Welcome.
I have a couple of things I wanted to mention. One was some correspondence for action on the terrace drive lighting. I totally support that request. It's not an easy place, especially in the winter at night. So I think it's I hope Council and Public Works looks to do that. My second comment is about, I see the electric charging station grant application, and in that I see 2 venues for possible installation. One is at the Info Center and the other is at Centennial Park. And I wanted to suggest that we look at Centennial Park. It's closer to the downtown businesses, and if people have their cars parked there, they're more likely to visit the downtown businesses. I just want them to consider that more than the other one. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other public comments? Hearing none, all in favor, a motion please to receive public comments. Councillor MacLean, Councillor G, all in favor? Carried. Adoption of the previous minutes, item 5.1, please, that the minutes of the February 26, 2019 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Unfinished business, 7.1, Committee of the Whole meeting, strategic planning. There's a couple of recommendations here that the following recommendations from the March 4th, 2019 Committee of the Whole meeting are ratified by council. Number 1, that the March 19, 2019 special meeting agenda be amended to include a review of the budget. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. And that 2, staff be directed to prepare a strategic plan for council to review at the March 26, 2019 regular meeting. Councillor G, Councillor MacLean. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. We do have some correspondence for action under 8.1 Carris Drive, request for lighting. There was a letter sent in that requests Mayor and Council regarding lighting near the entrance of Carris Mall, and that the recommendation here is to be that be directed to the Public Works Department. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, Any discussion? Councillor Blanchette.
It is dark. I ran to the mailbox the other night and it's dark. So anything we can do to help out our citizens would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. All in favor of receipt of that motion? Thank you. Carried. Does anybody wish to pull anything out of the reading file? Councillor Blanchette.
I'd just like everyone to be aware of the BC Bus North schedule. I know it was in the paper, but it's also here on our site as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Pearson.
Regarding the RCMP Appreciation Day BC letter, wondering if we can recommend a letter of support as well from Village Council to support the petition.
I'll second that.
Done and done. All in favor of that motion, let me just clarify that the council authorized the mayor on behalf of council to provide a letter of support to RCMP Day Committee for their efforts to move forward with a petition signed by Canadian citizens that will be directed to the province of British Columbia and the government of Canada to ultimately acknowledge February 1 as Royal Canadian Mounted Police Day. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I would also like to, any other highlights from the reading file for council? I would like to thank the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction for their reply regarding the Work BC Employment Services. It brought some clarity. So thank you to that. Motion that the reading file be received for information. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G. Any further comments? Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Administrative reports, 10.1, the Trans-Canada Highway Association Annual General Meeting and Resolution Session. There is a recommendation here that Councillor Pearson, our appointed representative, attend the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Association AGM in Edmonton on April 5, 2019. Looking for approval there, Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Furthermore, there's another recommendation that the following resolution be approved for submission to the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Association. Councillor Pearson, I will not steal your thunder.
Okay. I actually printed them on a little bit bigger print, so. Actually, I have two resolutions to take to the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association AGM. The first one, whereas Highways 5 and 16 are the oversized route to northern BC and Alberta and continue to experience significant increases in both commercial and tourist traffic along both regional corridors. And whereas the number of vehicle incidents continue to increase and place an increased demand on the resources and safety of emergency services providers in both provinces, therefore be it resolved that the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association advocate the federal government to secure and designate infrastructure funding for increased passing lane construction between Blue River, BC and Tejon, BC on Highway 5 and between McBride, BC and Jasper National Park on Highway 16, focusing on ascending grade sections to facilitate safe and efficient traffic movement.
Second, please. Councillor Blanchette, discussion? All in favor of that resolution heading to the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Association AGM? Carried. Furthermore, another recommendation that another resolution be approved for submission to the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association. Councillor Pearson.
Okay, second resolution reads, whereas Highway 5 between Blue River, BC to Tejon, BC and Highway 16 between McBride, BC and the BC-Alberta border continue to experience significant increases in traffic. And whereas there is significant lack of cellular communication coverage throughout this region, therefore be it resolved that the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association lobby federal and provincial governments to facilitate safer highway travel through improved cellular coverage in these corridors.
Seconder, please. Councillor G. Discussion. All in favor of sending that resolution to the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Association? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Pearson, for couriering those and representing Valemount at that most important AGM and resolution sessions. 10.2, electric vehicle level 2 charging station grant. There's A recommendation that staff be directed to apply for the Charge North Clean BC grant program and purchase and install one level 2 EV charging station at either 735 Cranberry Lake Road, which is right here, or at 1435 Fifth Avenue in proximity of Centennial Park, or that this report be received and filed. What is council's wish? Councillor Blanchette.
I'd like to put it on the floor for discussion.
It is seconder for discussion. Councillor Pearson. Councillor Blanchette.
I have a problem with this one, as the taxpayers are going to be paying for this. I don't go to Prince George and expect somebody from there to pay for my gas. So I know that there's already one at the Best Western. The Petrocan is already thinking of doing that. We could, maybe sort of send them a letter of support to send down to their head office to say, hey, I don't feel that. This was also an issue that came up, I believe, last year at the Columbia Basin Initiatives, and it was turned down. So I can't support this.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Excuse me, I agree with Councillor Blanchette. That was the one thing that I highlighted in the report was the user pay, that if it was a user pay system, I'm all in favor of it, but yeah, for us as taxpayers to pay to charge other people's vehicles, I don't support it either.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor MacLean.
I'm trying to think back to why we couldn't charge. What was the reasoning behind that? Why we can't resell power, or what was back to the day when we applied, when the village applied for one by the park, and why couldn't we recharge for power, or have some sort of a fee that we could? We were thinking along the lines of, okay, you pay to park there for 2 hours, equivalent.
My understanding, and I'm sure Mr. Robinson can clear that up, is that we would have to become a utility under the Utilities Commission. Mr. Robinson.
Through your worship, sorry to disagree, but that's not the case. It's not that we'd have to become a utility. The issue is that we can actually charge for the electricity, and it works out to approximately 50 cents a charge. So it's not a significant amount of money on the level 2 charging machine, charging system itself. That's coming from CEA and also from BC Hydro.
Okay.
But yes, we can charge. What CEA said when I spoke to them over the phone was that for the amount that we would be charging, it probably wouldn't make sense to charge because we would never recoup the cost of basically the subscription system.
Okay. Councillor Pearson.
In the letter from CAA, they do indicate a cost of electricity approximately 50 cents per hour of charging at current BC Hydro rates. But, I mean, is there anything saying we have to charge 50 cents an hour? Can we charge $1 an hour? It's a service we're providing, so we don't have to do it at a net zero. I mean, if we can recoup some of the cost over time by charging $1 an hour versus 50 cents an hour.
Would that, Mr. Robinson, would you suspect that would cover the charge of the subscription rate?
Through your worship, yes, and the prudent thing to do too would be to include the cost of capital asset management as well, so replacing the unit. So you'd work all those different amounts in, and then work out your per hour rate for that. But it would require some interesting math to figure it out. What would work?
And
what
remind
would
me,
make sense.
there is still a standing offer from BC Hydro?
Absolutely. Yes, BC Hydro is still offering, from what I know, they're still planning on installing a level 3 charging station. We're still waiting for the final agreement with that, and that would be at no cost to the municipality.
I understand also that the regional district, Fraser Fort George, has been approached by the CEA with board support for an investment down that alley of the level 2 charging station on regional district property. And all six northern regional districts are on board. So our corridor will fill up with level 2 charging stations should council not support this.
It also mentions here too, if successful in receiving funding for this project, the village will be responsible for $25,000 to $5,000 to cover the purchase and installation costs. So again, we're already out before anybody's even charged the 50 cents or $1. We're already out $5,000, and that's taxpayers. So
We follow up with BC Hydro, see where they're at with,
I already have, your worship.
and
They're still waiting to hear back from their legal side of things, just because we've asked them to, of course, indemnify us through insurance. And so they're just waiting to hear back from that. But they said from the initial look, at least on the engineering side, they saw no issues with this and no reason why it would proceed, why it would not proceed.
further discussion? What is council's wish? Motion to receive discussion. All in favor to receive discussion. Thank you. Carried. Is there a motion to be placed forward on this electric vehicle level 2 charging station grant? Councillor Pearson.
At this time, I would move that this report be received and filed.
Seconder. Councillor Blanchette. Discussion on the receipt and the filing of this report. Hearing none, all in favor. Carried. Item 11.1, Village of Valemount zoning amendment bylaw 794, 2019. A couple of recommendations here for council that the Village of Valemount zoning amendment bylaw 794, 2019 be given third reading. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion on third reading. All in favor? And that carried. And number 2, that the Village of Valemount zoning amendment bylaw 794, 2019 be adopted. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, discussion on adoption. All in favor? Carried. Item 11.2, Village of Valemount officers and employees bylaw number 795, 2019. Quite a few recommendations here. That third reading of the Village of Valemount officers and employees bylaw 794, 2019 be rescinded, and that the bylaw be amended to Village of Valemount's officers and employees bylaw number 795, 2019, and that the Village of Valemount officers and employees bylaw 795, 2019 be given third reading as amended. Did you get all that, Councillor Pearson? Well done. Councillor MacLean, seconder. All in, discussion on the amendment of the amendment of the amendment. Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 11.3, Village of Valemount obsolete bylaws repeal bylaw. I love this one. 797, 2019, the recommendation that the Village of Valemount obsolete bylaws repeal bylaw number 797, 2019 be given first, second, and third reading. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, discussion on the obsolete bylaws repeal bylaw.
they were fun to read.
They were. All in favor? Carried. Councillor reports. We'll start with Councillor Pearson, please.
Okay, so I guess I can just read it off and then go from there.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is that staff be directed to research the potential relocation of the yield sign at 5th Avenue and Main Street intersection from its current location on 5th Avenue to Main Street in order to improve the safety of the rail crossing.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor G, discussion? All in favor of the motion? Carried. Councillor Pearson? Anything else you'd like to report to council?
Since we last gathered, March 4th, along with the rest of council and the mayor and staff, we had a council of the whole meeting, or committee of the whole meeting, discussed strategic planning, and I've had several email conversations with the chairman of the Operation Lifesaver Rail Safety Committee through UBCM, get familiar with them and what their processes are and where we're at going forward. So That's all I have to report.
Councillor MacLean?
On Monday, March the 4th, I too attended the Village of Valemount strategic planning session with Mayor and Council and Village of Valemount staff.
Quiet week.
It was very quiet.
Nice. I'm sure the travel to Invermere next week will be, or it's April.
That's in April. Tomorrow is to Nelson.
Nelson.
Yes. And then they have sent out another notice which they would like to form yet another committee of the Columbia Basin, the Climate Change Committee, and they would like the local government representatives to be attending that in Castlegar the week before the Invermere trip, so we probably should talk. Yeah.
Okay. If we could get some clarity prior to March 26th, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Councillor G?
I've had a very busy couple of weeks, but not necessarily council related. I was out of town from February 26th and I returned home on March 6th, just in time to attend the CBT public meeting, which was good. I thought attendance was a little low, but it was fairly well received. Very well organized this year as well. Yeah.
Do you have any kind of recommendations that we can get more of the word out to increase public participation?
What I heard was more advertising, just letting people know about it. I don't know if the time changed for it this year. It seemed earlier than past years, but I'm not sure. So that might throw people off if they're used to it starting at a certain time. The time in the lobby was shortened as well this year. It was only an hour instead of 2 hours to mingle and just ask questions.
Of the presenters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Something to take back to the committee?
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Councillor Blanchette?
So before I forget, I just want to mention the cannabis open house that staff have been working really hard on. That's this Thursday at 7 o'clock at the community hall. We'd like everybody to attend, please. On the 4th, I also the committee of the whole, and it was very advantageous for staff and for council to be there. I think we came up with a lot of good things and what's important to all of us. On the 6th, I had a meeting here with our CAO. And on the 7th, it was the CBT night, and I thought it went really well, but like Councillor G said, attendance was very, very low. And there were only 7 submissions, so that's a little disheartening. CBT has done so much for this community over the years, and the money is there, and we all have great ideas. I know that the process can be daunting, all the paperwork and getting everything organized, but it really is to the benefit of and the betterment of the village, you know, and to all of us to really put your thinking caps on when you're trying to come up with some good things for the village. So that's everything.
March 4th in the morning at a conference call with the CAO and the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. With you all that afternoon with the Committee of the Whole, Strategic Planning. March 6th, meeting with Linda LaFleur from the Columbia Basin Trust. She's our Northern Relationships representative. March 7th, with the majority, was at the CBT Community Initiatives Affected Areas for the public input presentations. March 11th, yesterday, a teleconference meeting with the Prince George Regional Advisory Committee. I just wasn't able to make it there in person. And just this morning, I learned of the announcement of my appointment to the Columbia Basin Trust Board of Directors. The order in council was made on March 6th. So much thanks to Minister Conroy for her support and the nomination from the regional district. So exciting. Motion to receive public comment. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, any comments, discussions on the reports from council? Hearing none. Oh, thank you. Driving. It's going to be fun. Motion to, all in favor to receive. Carried. Item 13.1, new business with council's patience. Please, I have it here somewhere. I had it here somewhere. Thank you very much. There is a BC Mayor's Caucus being organized in Prince George the 31st and April 2nd. Normally these things are held in the lower mainland, so I'm seeking council's support for accommodation on April 1st. I'll drive there that morning. Don't think I need to be there for the welcome reception. And then return the afternoon of April 2nd. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, thank you very much. Discussion?
Take good notes.
I will do that. That's a pretty packed agenda.
Early start on Monday.
It is, yeah. It's less traffic. All in favor? Thank you very much, carried.
I'll just take that back.
Pardon?
I'll take that. Got a bucket.
Oh, there's mine there. Nothing under the file tracker. Item 16.1, motion please to proceed in camera for consideration of one item, section 92B of the community charter, to discuss matters related to 2B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or the federal government or both, or between provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we will now proceed in camera.